Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network on this Friday night. And obviously, it was billed as this very special Friday night, and it was, with the Mets and the Yankees playing and Soto returning to Yankee Stadium. And, of course, the Knicks trying to put away the Celtics in a pivotal Game 6 after the Celtics had held serve in Game 5 and really put forth a big effort with no Tatum in a one-sided victory. When I was analyzing Game 6, I said the one thing I would do more than anything else that I had to do was I just had to take White out of the equation. He had gotten the Celtics off so quickly, and that had to stop. Tonight it stopped. Brown was the only reliable scorer they had. They got nothing out of White early. They got nothing out of Pritchard early. They didn't get anything out of anybody else early. They couldn't find a second scorer. And the lead, although I didn't think the Knicks were overly impressive, they were gritty enough defensively. I thought they got superb efforts from Robinson and McBride defensively off the bench. And I think that's critical. Bridges got out early. Okay. The numbers in this game mean absolutely nothing because the game was really 3/4 of garbage time. So the numbers mean absolutely nothing. And, it was balanced scoring across the board. The only thing that was infuriating later in the game is it shows you how reluctant Tibbs is to ever take his starters out of the game. I mean, here he is in a game that has been over since a minute into the third quarter. He's got a 36-point lead, and he's got his starters in the game. I mean, it's almost comical. I mean, people were killing him everywhere, and rightly so. God forbid somebody trips over somebody or pulls a muscle or has, or turns an ankle and is not ready for the next round. Take your starters off the floor. It became almost a point of contention on the Knicks bench. I mean, he's crazy that way. He just will not do it. I mean, it's almost like it's a blind spot in his coaching. I mean, take them off the floor, please. The game is over. He never thinks the game is over. And you hope that he has bought into the bench because as we move on to the next series, which will begin Wednesday in Madison Square Garden, the Eastern Conference Finals. How does that sound? Which means they are now 4 games away from the championship round, from a chance to play for a title in the finals, which is something Knicks fans have dreamt about for so long. Now, Indiana is a dangerous team. We know that. They're deep. They're versatile. They shoot very well. They have a lot of explosive scoring off the bench. They are very well coached by Rick Carlisle. They want to run you. They want to push you. They want to play very fast. And they're sneaky good defensively. Now, they're a front-running team. That's one thing we've always known about them. When they're good, they pile it on. When they're bad, they just look for the exit. They're a front-running bunch, which is dangerous for them against a Knicks team, which never gives up. So they better be careful with that. But the bottom line is this is a very competitive series. A series where I don't think any Knicks fans are ever going to take the Pacers lightly. The Knicks have the extra game at home. They had the better season, though, the last couple of months of the season. Once the Indiana got everything straightened out, they statistically were the better team than the Knicks. None of that means anything now. What Tibbs has got to do is he has got to believe in his bench. Robinson, who has gotten healthier and healthier, has become an enormous factor. And the reason the Celtics were fouling him was to try and get him off the floor because he's such a pain in the neck. Look at the numbers when he was on the floor. The Knicks outscored the Celtics in this series dramatically when Robinson was on the floor. Robinson's defense and rebounding drove the Celtics nuts. He's an invaluable player, and McBride gave it to you 2 ways today. He not only hit a couple of jump shots, which we know he's always gonna do, he's gonna pull the trigger. He played really spirited defense, and he needs to play. I wouldn't bury Achua. You need him for a couple of minutes here and there. I wouldn't bury Cam. You need him for a couple of minutes here and there. They need those guys. And they also have to have an aggressively offensive-minded Bridges. I told you when the playoffs started, Bridges and the bench would be the key to the Knick run. This Knick team is still learning a little bit about how they want to play. And they want to play because remember, they have 4 guys. And if you count Hart, who's an unusual scorer, he's usually an effort scorer. He'll hit a couple of threes, as we know, but he's an effort scorer. He'll beat people down the floor. He'll get offensive rebounds. Tonight, he got 10 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. Again, don't look at stats tonight. But the one thing I want to look at tonight is OG had 23 points. Brunson had 23 points. Bridges had 22 points. Towns had 22 points. I love that. We know in a tight game, last 5 minutes, Bridges that Brunson's going to have the ball every play. We understand that. He's either going to make the pass or he's going to make the shot. We know that. Okay, that's fine. In the NBA, that's the way the game's played. The ball goes to your best player in the last 5 minutes. We know that's going to happen. But in these kind of games, the fact that they spread the wealth and utilize the fact that all 4 of those guys who had 20 points tonight all had 40-point games this year. That is rare that you can have guys who can have that kind of scoring ability. But this thing came down to one thing tonight, and that's it. There's nothing else even to discuss. The Celtics came out and they couldn't make a 3. They got open looks. They got open looks early. White got open looks. Pritchard got open looks. Porzingis got open looks. Porzingis never looked like himself, looked like a mummy the entire series. But and he actually gave you a couple of minutes tonight that looks a little more spirited than you've seen. But they couldn't knock him down. I thought the Celtics were tired from the start tonight. They didn't have a lot in their legs. I think that game emotionally took a lot out of them, Game 5. So be it. I'm not in any way taking anything away from the Knick win. The Knick win was one-sided. It was what it's supposed to be. And the Celtics, hey, they were 20%. When the game was real, at halftime, the Celtics were 20%. They wound up shooting 29% from 3, so who cares what they did in garbage time? They were 20%. In this series, when the Celtics were shooting 20, 25, they were losing. When they were shooting in the 40s to 50, they were winning. Case closed. That was it. That was the series in a nutshell. In a nutshell. It came down to that. They utilized the 3 as an ultimate weapon. It is the basis of everything they do. That, and they wanted to make sure they directed their offense towards Brunson and Towns. We know that. The Knicks have to be, especially Brunson and Towns, have to be smarter defensively. Pick their spots defensively. Don't get stupid fouls. Okay? Because they're each going to pick up charging fouls in the game because they're both very aggressive offensively. So they're going to pick up charging fouls. You don't want them picking up defensive fouls to take them out of the game. Towns game is weird. It can be an efficient game, but it's a very strange game. I'm not going to spend a ton of time tonight analyzing the series because we have time for that. Okay, we have time for that. They don't start the series now until Wednesday. Knicks get some rest. Indiana will probably be complaining because they have too much rest. It's the way it goes. You know, when you wipe somebody out, you spend a lot of time on the sideline. It's just the way it goes. Okay, I mean that's the way it works. They're going to have a lot of time off. That will probably make them vulnerable in game number 1. All right. I don't have the odds on the Indiana series yet. You can get them at Bet Rivers. Now we're getting ready for a Denver OKC Game 7. Even before you heard about the Aaron Gordon injury, that makes him highly questionable for Game 7. And they need him because Porter is virtually worthless right now. If he makes a shot, you're happy. He can't lift his arm above his head. They're going to have to go elsewhere. And they're not getting anything out of Westbrook in the last 3 or 4 games. He has killed them from the floor, and he's turning the ball over. Yes, they have the ultimate weapon in Jokic, and Murray will score. I expect OKC to win. I'd be very surprised if they don't. I don't know. I don't care how much heroics they get from Jokic. I expect OKC to win. I'd be very surprised if they don't. Minnesota OKC will be an interesting final. Okay. You will have teams with different faces, different people. So that works. If you have Indiana in the final, if you have the Knicks in the final, if you have Minnesota in the final, if you have OKC in the final, you have very different characters in the NBA Finals for the first time in a while. That's good. I think that's a positive. I think it makes things interesting. But we will get to that. We have plenty of time before Game 1 next Wednesday. We have Game Sunday, and then we'll get ready for the Western Conference Finals as Minnesota sits and waits after dismissing a Golden State team that was done the minute Curry went down. And let's say this, okay? You know that I have been very critical of Randall. I didn't want Randall on the Knicks. I didn't love the Towns deal, but I thought it was imperative they get rid of Randall. He did not fit in with the Brunson group. He fits in much better with Minnesota, and to be fair, he has played brilliantly. Not just well, he's played brilliantly in the postseason. He really has. He's not the number one guy there. Edwards is, but he has really, in an all-around fashion, lifted his game and answered his critics, including me, where he had been nightmarish in the postseason. He has lifted his game dramatically in the postseason. So give Randall credit for that. He deserved that. Now on to the Yankees. Again, the great drama, the great excitement, and I'm the biggest proponent of the Subway Series that there is. Going back to Game 1, which they showed the starting lineups for Game 1. I still remember being at the stadium. We did our show there for the Game 1 at Yankee Stadium, Dog and I. And obviously, Dave Malecki shocked everybody with his performance in Game 1, throwing a shutout against the Yankees in the first of what has been a great run of games. People have been critical of the games. Completely terrible take, because it has elevated teams when they needed to sell tickets and had poor seasons. It gave them something to circle. It also has always been a great conversation and a great part of our sports year. And you never see empty seats in either building. And that's the most important part. If there ever came a point, and it never has, where these games were not selling, I say, okay, they've run their course. They haven't run their course under any circumstances. And just the drama tonight in this year's chapter with Soto. Okay, you knew there was going to be a loud response when he came up the first time. Everyone in the world was watching that before the Knicks even played, watching him take the walk, watching him go to right field, the whole thing as it unfolded. I thought he really had, for him, a give up at bat in the ninth inning. I mean, he did not attack that at bat. It's almost like he couldn't wait to get out of the box. I mean, he had a chance there to make this game interesting for a minute. Either drive a double down on the right field line, drive a ball over the fence, get on base and pass it off where the tying run would have been coming to the plate with Alonso. It was a bad at bat by him. Disappointing. He walked his first 3 times up. He hit a ground ball up the middle, and then he popped up to center field to end the game. But I thought it was a lackluster at bat, almost like he wanted to get out of the batter's box. Not a typical clutch moment Odo at bat, and you haven't had those yet this year. That's what's been missing. And it was missing again tonight in the ninth inning where he could have delivered some of that drama with another base hit, and he didn't. He swung at the first pitch. He didn't try to set up the at bat, and he was out of there quick and with a flip of the bat. And I thought it was a poor effort on his part. 2 more games coming up. Canning and Schmidt tomorrow afternoon. Then the Sunday night game, Peterson against Fried, who has been the best pitcher in baseball. Judge, a couple more hits tonight. I mean, I think what Judge has done, to see a right-handed hitter, even in this stage of May, hitting 400 is just absurd. Absolutely absurd. See anybody hitting 400, but to see a right-handed power hitter hitting 400 is insane. His performance has been so good. It's unbelievable. It really has. It's remarkable how good he has been so far this year. Remarkable. So far, at this point, he's put together one of the greatest years of all time. We'll see if it continues, but he has to this point. Now, Preakness tomorrow. I gave you the Preakness winner last year. I gave you a Derby winner last year. I gave you a Derby exacta and winner this year. I like to keep my streak alive. I looked for an hour today to beat journalism. I can't beat journalism in this field. The horses that have talent are not ready for him yet. They haven't proven themselves in grade ones. They haven't proven themselves at a distance. Their setups for the race are not perfect. There's too much speed in the race. He can sit just off in a stalking position, third or fourth off, make his move, go up, take the lead, and run off. There's not a lot in this race. I think Sandman again will be overbet because of his connections. He'll be overbet again. I looked to try to beat journalism. I couldn't. The Baffert horse, to me, I worry about him distance-wise. I have great respect for Baffert. I have great respect for Wayne, who I've known I know Baffert, to talk to. I know Wayne Lucas like he's my uncle. I mean, I've sat at Saratoga with Wayne Lucas for 40 years. I know him forever. Okay. He's one of the great gentlemen of sport. He really has been. And I've never not spent a summer where I'll spend a day sitting up at Saratoga talking with him. Talk basketball, talk football, talk sports, do everything. I love Wayne. He's still there at the age of 89. God bless him. And he's a dangerous horseman, but I don't think his horse is good enough. I look for some value. I tried to bring Gosker in as the second horse. I don't think he's good enough. He's not fast enough. Again, he's lightly raced. He got a perfect setup in a grade 3, and he won it. He doesn't look like he has proved that he's anywhere near these horses. The only horse that looks like he's in the league with journalism to me is not Sandman. I think Sandman's slower. I think the Asmussen horse might be that type of animal. But I'm not thrilled about everything else about how he came into this race. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take journalism first. And I'm going to try and put an exacta behind him that gives you some value. So I'm going with the stranger in the race. The horse comes out of the Middle East. He's clearly a legitimate horse. Okay, he's a legitimate animal. He finished second by a nose to the Japanese horse, who finished last in the Derby. But I don't think that was fair. that he finished last in the Derby. I don't think that was a real indication of what that horse is. I think that horse is much better than that. I think he really hated the track, and I think he had a bad trip. So what I'm going to take is I'm going to take Heart of Honor, who I think, other than maybe Gosker on the outside, I think Heart of Honor. I think Pay Billy could be longer than Heart of Honor too, because he just doesn't look like a horse that has a great deal of class. Heart of Honor could be 20-1. I think they'll ignore him. He's got has no local form. I think he'll get ignored. I think the people who want closers and chalk will take the Derby horse. They'll take Sandman second for the short exacta, or they'll take Baffert or Asmussen for second with goal oriented or with Asmussen's horse. They'll even take Wayne before that, or Pletcher at River of Thames. I don't think River of Thames wants to go a longer distance. I really don't think he wants it. I think he's set up for this race. I think Todd pointed him for this race. I don't think he wants a distance in this race. Clever Again is obviously an American Pharaoh. He's very well bred. He's got major connections. He's trained by Asmussen. He's a legitimate horse, but he's going to be a short price. I don't want him for second at a short price. I don't want a $12 exacta, and that's what you're going to get over him. With him over Journalism, that's what you're going to get. So I'm going to try and beat him. If you were playing triples, I would play, if you can afford it, play. It's not a big field, so play Journalism, who I think will be even money or less, probably 4 to 5. You know what? At 4 to 5, he's actually a legitimate price because he deserves. He actually should be like 2 to 5. He's that much better than the field. He ran a great Derby. He's in this race. He would not be in this race if he wasn't training well. They would not fool around with this horse. This horse has got a major future. They would not fool around with this horse if he was not 100%. He's 100%. They think they can win this race. I put this one in the bank and probably skip the Belmont and come back into Travers against whoever's there. This horse is a legitimate horse. He ran a very valiant Derby. He can handle an off track if it rains tomorrow at Pimlico. He's going to be closer to the pace. He'll probably be stalking 2 or 3 lengths off the speed. He'll be on the inside. He'll probably be like 3rd or 4th, and then he'll move up when it's time on the turn, and then he'll stretch out, and then somebody will try and come from behind and beat him. I don't think anybody will, but he could fracture the field and go take off by 5 or 6. And if he does, that's where I think the horse I gave you could come out of nowhere and complete the exacta and set up a decent triple, Heart of Honor. So I'm going to give you Heart of Honor second. It's not expensive to play everybody for third in a triple. I would play a couple of long shots for third, but I'm giving you the exacta. Journalism 1, Heart of Honor 2. If I had to pick a horse for third, it would be Clever Again if he isn't used too hard on the front end. And if he is, then probably Sandman will suck along for third, most likely. But I would use everybody for third in the triple. You can do that for, I mean, if you play Journalism in the first spot, Heart of Honor in the second spot, and then everybody for third, for $1, it's a $7 triple. That's all it is. So I wanted to beat the horse. I really did. I went into I handicapped the race to want to throw. First, I wanted to throw him out. And I said, what are you kidding me? You can't throw this horse out. Secondly, then I said, let's be honest, Mike. This horse is much better than the field. The 3 best horses who came out of the Derby were clearly the winner, Journalism, and Baeza. Baeza and Sovereignty are waiting in the Belmont. The 4th best 3-year-old is probably Rodriguez, who continues to be hurt. If he had been in this race, I probably would have picked him. I think Baffett meant him for this race. He wasn't able to get here. So Baffett decided to ship another horse in, but he's shipping a horse in that really is so lightly raced. He has no bottom. I don't think he can. Even Baffett can't do this. And Baffett can do a lot with horses, but I don't think he can do this. I think he could get a speed duel here. I really do. And then I could see Journalism brushing to the lead, and then I could see somebody closing, and that's where I'm coming up with Heart of Honor. So that's my Preakness. It's a terrible betting race. While the Derby was a superb betting race, and it always is, this is a horrible betting race. But it's what it is. The Belmont should be a good betting race. This is not a good betting race, but Journalism over Heart of Honor. And I got to give you a third horse, so I will give you Clever Again is my third horse. I think he's the other legitimate, really talented horse in the race, other than Journalism. I think he's a very talented horse. I just think he's not ready for this yet, but I think he's a talented horse. That's where we are right now. So for you Knicks fans, congratulations getting this far. And again, as we talked about last week, yes, there is a path here. First to the finals. Don't think about the championship yet. Think about the path to the finals. There is now one team standing in the way. Cleveland's gone. Boston's gone. Now there is Indiana. Does Indiana demand your respect? Yes, they do. Have they had a soft trip compared to the Knicks? Yes, they have. But it means nothing. We know this team. We know what this team brings. We know they are legitimate. We know they're dangerous and deep and well coached by Rick Carlisle. He's a very good basketball man. Should be a terrific series. I mean, my first thought is 7 games. But again, like I said, we'll talk about that in the next couple of days. We got plenty of time. So it was fun seeing those people those kids outside the garden. It looked like a lot of kids. Obviously, they don't have the money to get into the building. That's a shame, but that's the way it is. I mean, that's sports in this era. You know, it's a funny thing. Somebody asked me about this today, and this is how I explained it to them. I said the Knicks are not the most prominent team, the most prominent franchise in New York. You have the New York Yankees, maybe the greatest franchise in the history of sports, quite possibly, most likely. You have the New York Football Giants and what they do to this town when they're good. You obviously have tremendous fan bases for the Mets and the Jets. But we know how lean their years have been. But when the Knicks are good, which has been extremely rare, but when they are good, they capture this town in a way that no other franchise does. Not the Yankees, not the Giants, not the Mets, not the Jets, not the Rangers, nobody. They have a special impact. Their games become events. And also, they become very much the story of the city because the entertainment crowd, the cultured crowd in New York, the elitists in New York, they love basketball. They love going to the Garden. They love when the Knicks are a big deal. Being at a Knicks game it has cachet. It has a status to it. Being at the Garden is an event. You can see it by how you have all these Stars lined up one after another after another. Some of them are there all year. You know who they are. A lot of them are just there now. And they'll be there more for the Indiana series. And you know how many will be there if they're in the finals. There is just a cachet and a status that comes with the Knicks games in these big moments. It's an event town. It always has been, and these are the biggest events. And there's a status to being there and being seen there. And that's part of New York. And the Knicks captivate that more than any other sports town. You don't get that kind of crowd at Giant Stadium in January for an NFL's championship game, an NFL, NFC title game. You get some of that for the World Series, but not like you get at the Garden for a Knicks playoff game, and especially when you get into the deeper parts of the playoffs. It's the place to be seen, to be, and everything else. And that's why they have such an enormous hold on this city when they're good, when they're really good, when they're playing deep playoff games, as they're about to do now. They're about to play for the conference championship. They are now within 8 wins of a title. They can sense it. They can taste it. You can almost feel it. You can see it. It's right down the road there. I don't say it's going to be easy. There's some obstacles to cross, but it's there. And that's a hold that they've had. And I've always told people that. I said, are the Knicks the most important team in this town? No. But when they are good, they shine unlike anybody else. And it's always been that way. It was like that with the great teams that won championships, with guys you saw again, aging guys you saw in that building tonight. Walt Frazier, Bill Bradley. A lot of those guys aren't with us anymore. One of the great NBA teams of all time. They played like a great jazz quintet. They never missed a note. They played like a glove, five equal parts. All different, all special, all unique, all talented, with guys coming off the bench known as the Minutemen if you go back that far. Cazzie Russell, Dave Stallworth. Then the Riley years. The Riley years, where there was a cachet and just a glitter around the Garden that has been lacking since he left. His loss was enormous. His presence was enormous. And now they're close to being at that juncture again. They're right there. If they're playing a game 5, a game 7 in this series with a chance to edge closer to a trip to the finals, they'll be there. That's how big those games will be. I can still remember being in that game, in that building for those games, and how big those games and how dramatic those games were. So it's good to see that and feel that again. And I went to game 5. I mean, I went to game 4, excuse me. And it kind of took me back to those years to the Riley years. When the Knicks were great, 69, 70, early 70s. I never, I couldn't afford to go to those games. Used to listen to them on the radio and then watch them at night on tape delay. Those games, believe it or not, a lot of them weren't even on live. They listened to them on the radio. I still remember listening when Willis went down and they beat the Great Lake team with the small unit against Chamberlain. And then they went out for game 6 out to LA. And Chamberlain got 45 points and 28 rebounds. And they had to come back for game 7, and you're figuring, how are they going to stop this guy? And Reed came out of the tunnel, and it was almost like something happened. On a night when Walt Frazier played as good a game as anybody's ever played in the game 7. Special moments. But the Knicks have a certain hold that is unique. And you're seeing that start to build again. Is it there? It's very close. Is it there yet? It's not there yet, but it's close. It can get there in the next series. It's going to be fun. We'll see you later.